right. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully that got you, that woke you up a little bit. I didn't really, I didn't really screen the music beforehand. um, all right. Well, I think we can go ahead and get started. Let's see here. A couple of reminders. If you have feedback for the conference or for the speakers, please visit the reception page. There's links to both feedback forms, and I'll post them in the chat towards the end of the talk as well. And I think that's the main order of business. Oh no, sorry. There's one other thing that I'll post in the chat. Following this, we have a couple of discussion sections. One is on business topics, the other is on developer topics. If you have any questions, it's not really so much a roundtable this year. It's more of a, bring us your questions and let's try to solve each other's problems as a group. So if you have some questions, bring them with you, what you're facing, what you'd like help with. You can also submit those questions in advance, and I'll post those in the chat too. So without further ado, I am really excited to introduce Tim from Creative Arc. He's the project manager, or really the chief of getting stuff done over there. Creative Arc is a Expression Engine partner. They're also sponsoring the conference. They're just very active in the EE community, and we're really excited. Tim himself has been using EE for over 10 years. And there's a random fact about Tim. I can't believe this. He's a 12-time finisher in the American Birkebeiner. I don't think I'm saying that right.
Birkebeiner.
Ski marathon.
Close enough. Yeah.
The ski marathon. That's 12 times. That's crazy.
I don't do it fast, if that helps.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's great. Well, okay, so, and I'm really excited to hear more about how to use tools like Mouseflow to really improve your sites, and please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I've added a couple of polls in the poll section. Feel free to give your feedback there, because I'm interested in knowing how other people are using their communicating with their clients, and what other tools might be used out there for this sort of customer recording, analytics kind of stuff. So Tim Hoppy, Creative Arc, out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've been doing this for about a decade, and usually I'm non-tech. So I'm on the content entry support side of things. My experience with Expression Engine has always been getting the pages live, getting the solutions to issues, and training clients and that sort of thing. The other thing is I'm not an expert at this tool. I've been using it for about 4 months or so. And oops, let's get this to somewhere I can see the chat if anybody chats. Oops, that's the wrong thing. Too many windows open this morning. Where did my notes go? Oh, there they are. So this is a presentation about how to use a tool like Mouseflow to either support a new or current client, or drum up business, right? By finding issues that a client might want to solve. As I said, I'm not an expert at this tool, and this isn't an advertisement. I like Mouseflow. I like what it does. So I'm just going to go through how I've been using it with some of my clients. So the agenda will be, I'll talk about some key features of Mouseflow so that you understand what it can do, and then we'll go through some scenarios that I use with my client. Okay. If at any point you have questions or comments, you can add them to the Q&A tab. If they're bigger questions, if they're yeah, if there are bigger questions, I'm going to watch just the QA chat because I can't do too many things at once. Okay, let's start by showing you the site that I'm going to be reviewing, which is Gillette Children's Hospital. They they do specialty health care for children with specialized health needs and conditions. Cerebral palsy and spina bifida, scoliosis are some of their bigger ones, but they neurosurgeons and physical therapy and all kinds of the whole gamut for children with those kinds of needs. They've been a client for a long time. They've been using Expression Engine for I think we came on the scene and they already had Expression Engine. So maybe 8 years or so that they've been using Expression Engine. So this is Mouseflow. What it does is it takes HTML recordings of visitors and tracks them, right? And gives you some the ability to manage the view of those users to see what they did and try to make some decisions about how to improve getting the right information to the right users. They have, just as a side note, they do take privacy settings pretty seriously. Like you have to, whenever you start a new client, you have to sign off that you are setting the privacy settings at the right levels. So we're not blocking the EU, but we are honoring do not track and those sorts of things. So they have a very easy interface for that. One of the key things about Mouseflow is the ability to filter the results. So here's my, whoops, where's my mouse? Here's my timeline for data right now. And I can set that to, a different set of month or year or all time or whatever. And then I can go and say, okay, so I've got 15,800 recordings. Show me anybody whose entry page was the homepage, right? And so it just manipulates the data very easily to help you track down the specific kinds of issues that you're looking for. Some of my favorite filters, if you can have a favorite filter, are friction events. So these are the built-in friction events that they have where custom friction was actually during a training session with Mouseflow. So ignore that one, but everything else those are just automatically built in, and they will highlight things like click errors. So there are 170 people of that 15,800 who had a click error during their visit at some point. They also aggregate friction, which is really useful to see. And I'm going to just open one up. So this person visited 17 pages. Here's the path that they took, the amount of time they took at each page. If they get what they call a friction event, they'll give it a number. +1 is mouse out. For a mouse out event, 2 for bounce, 2 for click error, 2 for, or I think it's 5 for click rage, which is another one of my favorites. The thing about mouse out is with so many of us having multiple screen sizes or screens, it's easy to mouse out. So they only track mouse out once, but it can be very useful for e-commerce if your client is e-commerce and they want to see if people are comparing costs between their products. So they leave it in, but they only count it the first time. But for somebody who bounces 6 or 7 times, every time it'll count for a distinct friction event. So friction is very helpful. That to me is one of the key. We're a dev site. The key for me is how do I make the experience for a user as friendly as possible, as smooth as possible. So I often spend time in the friction group. Another one I find very useful are the tags. Whoops. Mobility issues. You can create your own tags. So I've created one for dev so that if I find an issue that I want to make sure a developer sees, I just tag it as dev, and then I can create a subset and send it to them. And I'll show you how that happens in a minute. Payment issues, a script error, which is another thing that I've seen lately that I'm just trying to collect. The other one are variables. There we go. So if you have a client that's using Google Ads or any kind of UTM campaigns, you can track very closely, like how valuable are those campaigns and the cost that they're spending for that Google ad, how much traction are they getting because of it, and how many of those people are there for one visit, how many there go to multiple pages or do some kind of fulfill their success scenario for the website, whatever that might be. So again, the neat thing about this stuff is it's manageable, and you can manipulate the data to find the subset that makes the most difference for your client. There are some issues that you should be aware of, like JavaScript issues with submissions or other front-end functionality that may require special tags. You can go in and add those tags. An example, if you're seeing click rage on a gallery page, it's because someone's flipping through those images, and that button is intended to be used that way, so you can wrap it in a tag that says, this isn't click rage. I don't know how that works, but I know that it can be done. Other popular ones for me to use are device type. Where is it? Device, phone, tablet, desktop. I can look at I can see if the impact of a thing is mobile only, or if it really is across the board, and that can sometimes help you judge the way that you are trying to solve it. Page set is another one that I like. So they entered on a certain page, they exited on a certain page, or they visited a certain page. And it's usually the visited a certain page. And I'll be going through a scenario that uses that one quite a lot. Another key feature of, and I'm going through this really quick because there's a lot to show you. Another key feature is heat maps. These are all on the fly data reviewed using, I'm sorry, you're looking at the results of machine learning and some on-the-fly data manipulation. Heat mapping is the one that I'm going to focus on. They also have funnels and forms that I'll go through funnels a little bit later, but I'll give you an example. A homepage has a 42% scroll rate generally across the board for all of these 2,600 users. If I look at people that have a friction event, has any, let's just, okay. That's why sometimes you shouldn't do this on the fly. Let's say, let's just look at phone. So it went down to 32% of total scroll, and your friction score, your aggregated friction score went down to 0.2 because people are spending less time on it. I didn't look at all the data, but it's filterable and searchable, just like, and sortable, which they do have sortable on heat mapping, which is so much nicer. They don't have that on recordings, but it allows you to really get to, again, what subset of information am I looking at, and how can I use it? So here are here are a couple other pieces on this. You can go to you can download the data about a specific page or a heat map. You can go and see the specific recordings that had a friction event on this page. And then you can say, now I'm looking at only a phone. I'm going to take it off phone. Excuse me. It'll be easier. So these are the heat maps that are available. Click and scroll are probably the two that I use most often. I've found attention to be helpful when I'm helping a client understand like what is the data that people might be most interested in on a page, and how do we make that, broaden that data to you know, keep the client longer, or get the client the data that they're looking for. Let's just go to a click map. Why is this so short? I'm having a problem with my interface. There should be an overlay on this map. That's not very helpful if I can't show you what a heat map looks like. Well, I'm going to show you a picture of what a heat map would look like if I kept one open. This is the scroll map for the homepage. It'll give you percentages. Let me blow this up a little bit. It'll give you percentages of like 70% of people got here, 60% of people got here. You can help use that to define with the client what is valuable content for users, and how much is being seen. This stuff down here, almost no one is seeing this ways to give block. So it's not getting, it can't get the traction. So how do we either move that, or are people just losing interest before they get there? So we have to make the other information more interesting, or smaller, or whatever. Like, I don't know why heat maps aren't working. Okay. Just looking at my notes. Other things I like are aggregate friction, aggregate scroll. Render is interesting. I have to do more follow-up with the render time. I don't know why we're getting some of these high numbers. And so that's just something I have to follow up with both my dev team, but also the Mouseflow group. Last key thing I'm going to talk about, dashboards. They're easy to manipulate. You can edit them, and whoops. You can add other pieces just by saying, oh, I want to look at this segment and define the grouping or whatever. I created a specific dashboard that I'm using all the time that just helps me understand. I can go through and define, I'm only looking at this subset of pages. I'll be showing that to you momentarily, but I can say, just give me people who did visits to the Kids Health Matters, which is their blog. And that helps me get the data quickly to the client. Okay. Now I can't find make sure nobody's asked any questions. Okay. So there were other things that I don't cover. They integrate with other products like Google Analytics and Zendesk, and any number of other platforms. And they do A/B testing and that sort of thing. Are there any questions so far? I've been really trying to run through this pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm going to run, unless anybody has any questions, I'm going to head over and do a scenario of, this is a report that I'm giving to a client, or will be giving a modified version of this report to a client. When I think about these reports, the things that I'm thinking about are what are the key concerns for my client? You know, what are the pages that they care most about? What do they consider success for their website? What are they interested? Is it UX? Is it speed? Is it design changes that they're making or considering making? So is it content, right? So without further ado, so this is the beginning of a presentation for my my client. I'm hearing something in the background. Oops. Oh. Hi, Satya.
Hi.
Did you have a question?
Hi, Tim. Not for now. I
Oh.
recently joined, so just going through.
I got it. I'm going to mute for me so that I don't hear you in the background. No offense. If you need to ask me a question, just let me know. Okay. So this is an example report that I'm giving to a client. I always give them, what's my data set? How many visitors did they have that we tracked? I'm only viewing a percentage of their visitors because they are only paying for a certain number of tracking through Mouseflow. So it just helps them understand this, for instance, is maybe it's less than 50% of their visitors during this period. It's probably in the 40% range or less. I give them an overview heat map of where are they getting attention, what kind of number of pages are the users seeing, what kind of level of friction events. As you can see, it's 97% are having 0 or 1 friction event. 1 friction event is most often mouse out, which I disregard. And then where are their traffic sources? Most people are finding them through searches. No refer is a Mouseflow situation where they don't know where that user came from. They started tracking the user as soon as they hit this page, but that tab could have already been open. So they don't, if you're not tracking 100% of users all the time, you won't know if they've already been here, visited for a while, left, came back, and so that's what the no refer percentage is. So you've got a significant percent that were likely already looking at the site and have already come back to view them again. Okay, so the first scenario that I'm going to talk through is it's they're looking at some key pages. So they were asking me, what are our usability issues for some of our key pages? And so I started with the Cerebral Palsy group, which is actually a subset of 4 pages. I start with a review of the, now I have to find the right tab. Okay, Cerebral Palsy. Okay, so I start with my my dashboard review, and I just limit myself to just users that have visited that group of pages. So has visited pages that start with conditions and care, cerebral palsy. It takes me to 390 users, and then it kind of highlights the same information that we discussed before. I've found almost no value for them in terms of device usage, so I've been leaving off they're at 50% almost always. So unless I see something that's very significant, I don't include that device information. Then I'll go to recordings. To be honest, what I did was I went to heat maps and I said, show me everything that the heat map is called conditions and care. And then I went to what is cerebral palsy page. And I said, show me all the recordings that reference this. And that's what I got. So, and then I just started watching recordings. And let's find one that's interesting. I've starred a couple of them to say, oh, this is interesting. Aha, click rage, one of my favorites. And so I just click on it and I say, what am I seeing, right? And you can see this person is clicking over and over again in the same areas. This top bar up here will show you anything that's red is a mouse movement or scroll, yellow is a tap or click, and then they've got inactivity. So they skipped 54 seconds there. As if it goes over the black area, it'll tell you right above it what they're doing. Skipping 5.6 or 6.5 seconds. You can change the speed. Anyway, you can go to the next page from this list here. I'm going to pause this. So what I did was I just walked through these. Oh, I can just, because I'd mentioned it earlier, I can make a comment about something and just say whatever I want, save it, and then it creates this little blue top piece up here. And then I can go and add a tag if I need to say this is something that I need a dev to look at. Identify visitor is just, you can create a visitor name so that you can, like, angry user 1, whatever. And then, but the one that's most useful for me is share this recording. I can go and say, share this specific recording to my client or my dev team and say, this is an issue we need to resolve. And I find that to be a very useful tool to get the issues communicated. Time am I looking at? Okay. Oh boy, running slow. Okay. Should have had more caffeine this morning. So what I did was I went through these recordings. You can see the green ones are the ones that I've already watched. It's not a fast process. I'm doing this to just show you the process that I work through. If I can find my report again. So I'll talk through the specific things. When I found click errors on the cerebral palsy pages, I think there were 19 of them, I got tab gets JS. The tab gets a JavaScript error, which has no user consequence, but does show up as a problem for us in Mouseflow. It's easy. It's a easy thing for us to resolve. So that's going to be on my list of to-dos. When I looked at just click rage, I found that it was almost always for mobile users, the COVID banner, the GDPR banner, and this quick links. They can't open and close them well enough, or they don't realize that there's a giant close button right down at the bottom. So we have to find another way to either make that more highlighted or add another Xbox or, whatever, another way to close it. Overall, the aggregate friction was, 0.5, which is fine for these number of pages. And the average scroll was 45%. And so that's for them to make a decision of, are people seeing enough of the data on these pages to make it useful, right? But it helps them make some decisions about content. So then I give them summaries and suggestions. Do something about that GDPR banner. Hide the quick links and scroll, the COVID scroll, or COVID banner on scroll, or find some other dev solution to minimize them, because when you're on the any of those pages, you are almost covering the whole screen with all of your banners. Update JavaScript for that tab to remove false friction. Improve CTA or visibility to direct traffic. They're only getting 3% of their visitors to a condition that they are known for around the world. So either they're not highlighting this enough, or people already know about them and need to get to some other data, like their doctors or their, whatever it happens to be. And then the other thing for our team is to investigate those load times. Why am I having those load times be so high for that group of users? Okay, so that is scenario number one. Now, okay, does the system highlight things that are working well by giving them positive scores? No. So you can create, that's a great question, Oliver. You can create tags for things that you want to maintain so that you can track them on your own. Their built-in system only shows me negatives. The tags that I haven't gotten around to creating yet, a little bit of history about this project, by the way, we had been only doing very specific subsets of projects or of pages. Only look at conditions care, only look at the homepage, only look at the locations pages as we made design changes to help evaluate, like, are we seeing any change in the click rate and all that stuff. After about 2 or 3 months of that, our decision was we need to broaden it to a wider range of visitors because we weren't seeing the impact of these changes overall on the user journey, right? But so my next step for improving our use of Mouseflow is to create tags for their specific conversions, right? They want people to hit the contact us page. They want people to call their number so that they're all over the site, and they want people to search for specific topics because they want to be known as a resource. So we have to go in and create some specific tags, and those are the positive scores that I would call it, to say, hey, I'm getting 90% of all of my mobile users within this range are doing the thing that we want to do. Leave this because we don't want to mess that up, I think is what your question boils down to. Are there any other questions right now, or does anybody see anything in the data that I've showed you very quickly that might be something else that I'm missing, that I'm not seeing as a valuable result for my client? I'll look at the chat to see if anybody said anything. All right. Then I'm going to go on to the next item, which is their next. Where's my other? There really are too many things on my screen right now. They wanted to talk to me. Their content entry folks, or their content creators, I guess not content entry, but content creators for their blog, Kids Health Matters, needed another way to evaluate how is their blog traffic this month. And so this is a report that I'm going to be modifying, but giving them in a way to help them understand what's the value of the current content that they're creating, or how well are they pushing that content or whatnot. So the way I would start with that, let's see, that was heat maps for cerebral palsy. Okay, so first I would go to the traffic dashboard that I've created, and then I would use one of these filters to say KHM visits, Kids Health Matter is their blog. From there, I would take this data and push it over to my spreadsheet, right? Because I'm trying to compare it against 2 months worth of data, and this system doesn't do it. So right now, all I'm doing is I'm taking this data and then I'm changing this date stream. And comparing the same data, right? So 1,700 users. Last month was 2,000 users, right? 1,600 of those were entry point of KHM pages. Any Kids Health Matter blog page. Last month it was 1,900, and then from there on I try to only use percentages, because I'm only seeing a percent of their total users. So I have to have I can't say you only got 1,600 users. I'm just letting them know this is the size of my data set that I'm basing the rest of this discussion on. And if that's not big enough, then we need to start increasing the number of people we're tracking. So I kind of compare all this data. 80% of all their users, all their visitors only touched one Kids Health Matters post. And then, but if you look at people where the entry point was Kids Health Matters, it was 85%, right? So I try to give them value, and then I try to evaluate that data for their review, right? It's 15% lower visitors, but all of these other items are to the positive, right? I got 40% more people went to a third page in their visit to on the Gillette site. I look at where you're getting the higher level sources of users, and that is so that they can understand where they might need to push more, or if they're doing well with, like, this to me says they're doing really well with keyword searches, but if they've got a social media campaign, it wasn't working last month and it's working better this month. That's what that means to me. Then, devices, again, this is just to help them understand they need to think about their users as mobile and desktop users. They can't focus on a design that is one or the other. And then I went through this multi-page visitors list. So what I did was I went to this funnel. So this funnel is you put any pages that you want to see. That first I started at any Kids Health Matters page, and then I went to any conditions and care page, right? And that just, but this is a cheat sheet, because all I do is I say, let's say all I care about really are they went from any Kids Health Matters page to the Kids Health Matters landing page. And then I look at it again, and it gives me a percentage. I did forget to add one thing. I'm only looking at multi-page users. Oh, and I don't know if I told you about this. These are filters that I've saved so that I can come back to it again and again. So number of pages is at least 2. If I look at that, 11 of them went from a Kids Health Matters page to the Kids Health Matters landing page. The rest of these I really don't care about right now, because I'm only looking at these top level pages of first step. It is interesting to note that after they went to a Kids Health Matters page, 3 of the 38 went to a conditions and care page. Long-winded way of saying this breakdown is just to show them, like, if you're trying to get people to a different page, if you're trying to get them to the contact page, you're not being successful. So you need to look at a better way to highlight that information, give them a better CTA, whatever it happens to be. I can't make the decisions on what they're trying to do, is my point. I'm just trying to give them decisions so that they can help make their own decisions. I'm trying to help them give data so that they can make their own decisions. A couple of things that I thought were really good. They're sending a lot of people to conditions and care. They're sending a lot of people to their care team, which is their doctors. They're sending a lot of people to the homepage or the landing page, which I don't find as useful from the perspective of if they don't know how to get anywhere else, they'll go to the homepage. The blog landing page could be interesting because they're like, oh, this was a useful visit. I want to go see what else there is. This information in the last year's column or last month's column, excuse me, I put it there to disregard it because last month they were not tracking all their users and now they are. And I wanted them to see what the value is from the perspective of they didn't know that 11% of their people were going to the care team. So I'm just trying to, this is to help them understand the total value of the information that we're gathering. Oh, am I out of time? I don't, oh, back clicks. Oliver's point about tracking back clicks. I don't know if they can do that because it's not on page, but I will ask that question. I've got to write that down. Mouseflow has somewhat proven some client design decisions. They had a lot of pages. Well, they had a lot of pages where their header image was gigantic, and they were landing pages like for your foundation pages, your ways to give, your how to get involved, about us, really huge pages. And they said it takes forever to scroll. You can't see anything when you land on this page except this giant image. They took it and made it the same size as all their the doctor or locations pages, very small, and it brought up a lot more data on the page. I only have a week's worth of data to compare against, so I can't say yes with any confidence, but I have seen a huge shift in the number of people that have landed on those pages. I've seen a huge shift in how far down on that page they're getting, and I've seen a decrease in the bounce. So from that perspective, I would say Mouseflow has helped us understand that the decision was valuable. They changed their locations pages, the way the landing page was laid out. It used to be lots of big pictures all the way down, and now they've made it a map with the scrolling thing on the side. That also seemed to have been very useful. Anyway, Lydia, can you tell me if I have any more time? Whoops.
Hi. Yeah, you have about up to about 15 more minutes. You don't have to, but I'm going to cut you off in 15 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. That's good to know. So I would open it up to any other questions. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to see in terms of this? Again, this is just the kinds of summaries and reviews that I'm doing. The summaries that you are seeing right now took me hours to do, right? Because I was plowing through data, significant amount of data, and trying to figure out a way to share it with my client. So the amount that I've shown you in 30 minutes is limited by the amount of time we've had. The effort has been more significant. So if there's something that you'd like to see or understand that you haven't already seen about Mouseflow or the data manipulation or a different view of the site, I'm open to those questions. And you can probably just join us and ask the question live if that'd be easier. Oh, and nobody filled in my polls. Let's see if there are any other questions. Okay. Are there Mouseflow features that seem to resonate with customers? You know, funnels doesn't make sense to them. The team that I'm working with, not that it doesn't make sense. They don't care about that yet. because we've only really recently started using it, when I can show them the attention and let's see if I can show you right now on the fly. If I can show you locations. Right there. I can look at this sitemap. If I can get the sitemap to work, come on. Scroll. Okay, now it's going to work. Excellent. So I can show you the sitemap or the scroll map for their current design, right? So they went to just a simple map with a scrolling sidebar. It doesn't show the sidebar necessarily in terms of like how many people scroll down to see Maple Grove, but it does give them a sense of how far down the page are people willing to go to get information. This is on desktop. This is on phone. And if I look at click, oh, show results. Thank you, Oliver. I didn't realize that I had to push a button at the bottom as a as a user. So if I look at the scroll results or the click results, I can see that a bulk of their users, they had 317 clicks for 283 users. Some of them were clicks to close the COVID and were going into quick links or whatnot. But I can see that their scroll rate weren't going far down the page because most people were seeing just the we're just interested in the St. Paul clinic or St. Paul campus visit. Baxter. The other thing that I have to consider is attention. People are most interested right here to look at their map from a phone perspective, from a desktop perspective. It's probably breakpoint, right? They're not scrolling down very far, so they're seeing this area of the map, and that's what they're most interested in because they can scroll through, which is what we expect to see. I can go back. Danger of doing something on the fly. Let's see how this works. Nope, that didn't work. I'm trying to find the time where this. I don't have any information for that. This is I should stop playing with this. There's a point at which I can see the design before and after. At this point in time, I was not tracking locations pages. So I just have to go and find that specific period of time where they were making the change and said, let's track for a little bit and then let's track afterward and see if there's a variation. We were getting so few users at that point that not that they were getting so few users, we couldn't validate the data because we didn't know how many users were actually coming to see the locations pages. We were only tracking 20% of total users, 40% of total users, and seeing 500 users over that time span. So we didn't know how much more impact there was. Anybody have any other questions? I want to make sure I give people a chance to ask anything.
I have a question, Tim.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about your client reaction? Like, does this just sort of make everything a lot easier instead of, talk a little bit about that, please.
Sure. So they came to us with the need for, they said they have had a total change in the management level of their web web governance, I think they call their team. And that team was like, we need more to work on. We don't know the history of all the things of why people made these decisions. We don't like them. we want to see and evaluate what's actually happening. So we went through the process of vetting some different platforms, found Mouseflow, liked what they offered. The client agreed. So they've been very happy with us in the ability to bring forward another service from their perspective, because we can look at their data and analyze it and help them understand what's actually happening and how do we improve on what's been created. I'm using it for new clients. Like if you come to us and say, hey, we're looking to redesign or build a new website, actually not build a new one, but if you're looking to redesign right now, I say, if you're interested, hire on with us and we're going to put on Mouseflow just for a month, just to see what's actually happening. What are the levels of users? Where are they going? What are their activities? How can we leverage this in your conversation to say, we think this is the most important thing on our site. And we can say, your clients don't care about that. Like that, if that's the case, you need to change the way the conversation around that piece of your website. So it's been very helpful for those kinds of conversations.
Was there any reason in particular why you went with Mouseflow instead of Hotjar or some other one?
So Hotjar and Crazy Egg, I think were two others that I looked at. Hotjar no longer does, I think it was Hotjar. They no longer do the funnels, and with some of these other tools, they're not doing things on the fly. Like you have to know that you're going for a specific subset of your visitors. As I understand it, I'm not a professional or a expert at these. You have to know that you're going for this subset. I want to look at mobile users that are doing this thing and seeing what the condition is. I don't have to worry about that. I can compare two different subsets of users, and I have specifically to see if mobile versus desktop has a different activity, or like the attention. Is there a difference in attention because you have to scroll so far to get to some information? So that was the key, is they're doing things on the fly with data, and it was from maybe I'm a data nerd, but it was much more interesting as a way to think about my users or the visitors for my clients to think, to see what am I not thinking about? What are the blind spots? And we found some where we're like, oh, we expected to see some kind of a spike in viewing of a certain topic in a certain region, like in the Midwest. We were saying, oh, there's a highly Midwest topic for our blog post, and we don't see it in the Midwest. So what's happening there? And we wouldn't have been able to see that kind of content or context if we hadn't already preset the Mouseflow. If we hadn't already preset the collection set for that group. So I have one other thing. If anybody is interested, I'm going to post in the chat, or in the chat, a link to I think it's a 14-day free trial for Mouseflow. It's, again, I'm not advocating, but I've found it very useful. If you find it useful, if you have any questions, I'm happy to have a conversation about it. Tim Hoppy, Creative Arc, and I'd be happy to talk through what we do and why we do it, because it has been very helpful for some of our clients.
Okay, great. Well, if there's any other If there aren't any other questions, because we're just right about at your at time here. Yeah, I just would like to say thank you so much. And I know, Tim, you've kind of been around in the Hangout rooms a little bit too. And so hopefully it's okay for me to say if people have questions, they can hit you up.
Definitely.
That was a really fantastic thing. And I'm one of the people in the poll that answered, yes, we use it, but it's I think in a very cursory way. So this is really helpful, the details that you shared. Awesome. And approaches that you shared, so that we can incorporate some of those ideas in what we go over with our clients as well.
Wonderful.
I appreciate that. And don't forget to, I kind of bungled the link, but please go submit feedback, conference feedback, speaker feedback, and sign in any questions you have for the upcoming talks. And we look forward to seeing everybody in the rest of the conference. Thanks so much, Tim. Great presentation.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.